Africa. A land of promise. A land of many opportunities and possibilities. In the face of daunting challenges, arise stories of passion, dedication, and patriotism. These are the stories of young, passionate Africans who are changing lives and charting a new course for Africa, the future of Africa. Stories of hope and love for Africa and Africans. It's a new dawn. This is Project Africa.
There is a good reason to pay close attention to the teeming population of youths in Africa. With 200 million people aged between 15 and 24, Africa has the youngest population in the world, according to the Africa Economic Outlook report. A huge human capital resource, an advantage to the African economy, one will argue. But with the poor educational standards prevailing in most African states and the lack of career guidance and mentorship in schools, choosing a career path for young Africans can be very daunting. Year after year, we find young people graduating from secondary schools into university and colleges without clear, informed direction of a career path. According to the International Association for Educational and Vocational Guidance, career guidance refers to assistance given to individuals or groups of individuals in addressing problems related to occupational and life choices, offering full opportunities for personal development and work satisfaction.
On the issue of students choosing career, in the early 90s, it has been a major topic. When a child is in GS3, the child will be made to write an aptitude test to choose a career. But now, it is no longer like that. They will just tell the counselor, please see this child. This child will be good at science class, look at the result. So we consider their result now, and we tend to, put them in a class. Like you see some, they will say they are influenced by peer pressure, some by their parents. But majority, from my own experience, from the little experience I have on the job, you see majority are being influenced by their parents.
Most of the time when we advise them and they refuse, what we do is to ask them to sign undertaking. You are the one that is making the choice. They don't allow the children to have an input in what they want to, become in future. So it's a sort of a big problem for us. You will find so many of them going to science classes and they're not all cut out for science. So by the time we do exam, first term, second term, third term, we find out they start going down and they end up repeating the class. And by the time they repeat once or twice, their parents will now see the reason why we said they should be in a particular class. So parents, it's a problem of parents most of the time. Then the children themselves, they don't even understand. They are just, being moved here and there. They cannot take a stand when it comes to career choice, except when their parents ask them to, do certain courses.
Career guidance has been identified as a key focus in addressing the mismatch between the needs of labor market and the products of the educational and training system, thereby dealing with unemployment and improving labor mobility. In a survey amongst African experts on 36 African countries about the major challenges youth face in labor markets, 54% of the youth were found to have a mismatch of skills required for the job and their inherent skills. 41% generally just don't know what skill is required for a career path. Many employees are stuck in careers to which they are not suited, yielding to low morale, demotivation, poor performance, and bad service levels. It's obvious that majority of Africans are unemployable. This has contributed immensely to the high rate of unemployment in Africa. According to the World Bank, the youth account for 60% of all Africa's unemployed population.
This is Project Africa.
To tackle this situation, choosing a career path, Samuel Jackson Iboro, a talented young Nigerian who was also without a clear, informed direction of a career path, struggled through his university days, but made up his mind to educate the young ones in his community on how to make the right career choice. He organizes different educational programs in secondary schools to address the issue of career in Africa.
While I was growing up, there were a lot of expectations. We have young people gathered, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to achieve this, I want to be the richest man in the world. All of those dreams were beautiful ones everyone wanted to achieve. I remember my first day in high school when I lost my dad, and it seemed like all of those dreams were going to be shattered. Then Mom suggested that when I get into university, I should look forward to a course that would be money tagged, money big. As at then, the only counsel I had was my mom. So when I struggled through high school, it was time to get into the university. So the only trending course that was money tag, Nigeria being looked at as an oil-tagged nation, was petroleum engineering. So I made up my mind to study petroleum engineering just to finish, get a good job, and help the family. So all on my mind, my spirit, soul, and body was to study petroleum. And how I was going to do that wasn't my issue, just get it. So I applied. I wrote the joint admission matriculation exam, which is written by Nigerians to enter into school. My first choice was petroleum engineering. My second choice, petroleum engineering. First year, I did so well, but my cutoff was not able to get, that admission. Second year, the same thing. Third year, the same thing. For 4 years, one way, seeking one admission. Wasted 4 good years. There was no career guidance. I kept looking like I was disappointing my mom. Fortunately, I was able to see my high school teacher on the way, and he expected that by 4 years, I should have been done with school. And he was like, Samuel, how are you? I said, fine. So, congratulations. So, how was it? I was like, how was what? He said, school. I said, I was yet to get into school. He said, why? He said, I was going to give you admission to study petroleum engineering. He said, I know you're a bright child. Is that the only course science student could read? Then he started saying, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? It was never in my mind, because there was nobody to put me through, nobody to let me know what skills are needed for certain courses. So thank God for sending my high school teacher. So he put me through. At the end of the day, that same year, I got admission into school to study computer science. Bringing my story into what I do, I discovered that there were so many Samuel Jacksons around my community who were going through same challenges. So I got a job, I started teaching, and I discovered that a lot of students were struggling through. Some join in high school when you get into high school, you'll be shared into department. You have the science, the science, the commercial. They were struggling. Some had to jump into another department the next term, So I felt there was a need to help them see the future career-wise. So because I went through that, I felt there was a need for them to have a counselor. There was a need for them to get someone who will help them chart a course. So how will they know? I've been there. So I felt, let me be their eye in that field. So I made up my mind to start up a career mentoring program. So I tagged it Meet a Mentor Career Program. I felt this was going to give them opportunities to have professionals in all fields who would come, they meet, and then these professionals will share their success journey stories to them. Because during my research, I also found out that young Africans were not employable. They just get to school, come out, and they start looking for jobs. So we started up with a school, Abesa Senior High School. So in partnership with the Lagos State Education District, they were excited about it. So they felt they were also going to send their rep. So on that day, I was able to get professionals in all fields. We gathered and then we charted courses, in ensuring that these ones have a future ahead. And they were able to ask questions. That was my joy. I once said, I don't like the sight of blood, but I want to be a medical doctor. What do I do? And the doctor was also able to tell them his fear, that he didn't like the state of blood, but he is a medical doctor. He is a surgeon for that matter. And these questions were able to help these young ones have a chat for the future. Some before now didn't know what the future holds or what they were going to become, now knew. So I'm not just going to be a medical doctor. They now see themselves medical doctors with a difference. So they are not, it's no longer what do I want to become in future. The mindset that was now placed in these young ones was what problem do I want to solve in future? And that's my biggest joy ever.
You know why we're here. This is not a party. We're here to invest lives. Greatest Nigerian students!
Today we're going to be talking about medicine as a career.
So to become an engineer, the first thing, just like the previous speakers have said, you need discipline.
How many of you before today have heard about HR?
I'm going to center what I'll be talking about on journalism.
Okay, I want to have the first 5 people that want to become on-air personalities very quickly. On 3.
The impact of Mr. Samuel Jackson has really made a great change, He organized a program on career, choosing a career, and from there you can see our students coming out to say, I love the way the engineer, spoke on engineering. I would like to be an engineer. And before you know it, their parents will come and tell us, I'm beginning to see a change in my child. Is it the right way to go? We have evidences of parents that have come after the career counseling, to tell us the changes they've noticed in their children.
During the program, I heard that it wasn't only about the money. It's about the satisfaction derived from doing what you love doing. It's about doing what you love doing and checking within yourself and saying, what am I good at? Maybe I'm not good at this subject, I'm good at this subject, so it's better for me to follow this line, this course, so that I will be able to succeed. Not about following the crowd or following people, but about being yourself and being what you want to be and doing what you enjoy doing. So I like science, so I'm looking forward to becoming an engineer.
And after the program, I was able to choose a course which was architecture, and I was focused on it. Now I'm studying to be an architect.
The program was so good and so impactful, very nice. The children really enjoyed it because of the caliber of speakers that, professionals that he brought. We were all blessed, even with the teachers, we were blessed. I was also, enlightened, to also enlighten my own children at home. So that is it.
I'm happy. I know the future now. I can now advise my friends, my younger ones at home, tell them about career course and make them have a focus, have a direction, and to know that after their secondary school, they can now make the right choice and not make mistake.
One of our beneficiaries, Ademide, while in high school, there was a session we had a photographer come talk to us about career in photography. He fell in love with it. So he started internship with the photographer man and started giving him jobs, started going for birthdays, started going for weddings, taking shots. While in high school, he was doing that and was making money.
The one that really concerns me is the man that spoke on art department. For the man, it was as if the man was brought, it was as if it's because of me they organized the program actually. Before the program, the photography is almost dying off my life because more of my school is taking enough of my time and everything. But really after we did the program, I was able to balance my photography aspect with my academic, and everything is going on smoothly.
Even though Ademide studies biz admin in university, he loves photography. He's fulfilled. He's not having this feeling of being left out. He's fulfilled. His works are amazing. I've seen them, and oftentimes when I have my programs, I call him to come and cover my programs, the video, the picture, and it's just been amazing. The music career program now extended to several schools. Some schools heard the impact in Atabeson Senior High School and they felt they wanted to be a part of it. The mentor program has benefited over 10,000 teenagers in more than 20 schools, and the result has been resonating.
This is Project Africa.
My name is Samuel Mulea, Chairperson of the Pan-African Universities Debate Council from Midland State University and at the Department of Student Affairs. Giving a brief background of the challenge that we are facing, whereby we saw some of our students being in the classroom but not knowing where they're going tomorrow. Why? Because of the lack of knowledge in terms of their careers or what they're going to take or what they're going to do in life to edify into the economy and the values for our nation Zimbabwe.
This is 22-year-old Kudokwashe Emilia, who is committed to developing and inspiring young future Africa leaders. She carries out career development programs in tertiary institutions in Zimbabwe.
The challenges that are affecting students around us is the economy. Most of the students, they come to school and usually they don't have enough funds, they don't have a lot of things. So they end up doing things that they really don't want. I actually noticed that there's a lot of students who need career guidance. There are a lot of students out there who need to be taught about their careers, the degrees they're doing, because the degrees that we do here at Midland State University are very versatile. So I actually noticed students need guiding and counseling on how they can go about their degrees, how they can go about in getting something different, how they can go about in making businesses, how they can go about in branding themselves. So this passion actually grew fonder and fonder. How I got to get the opportunity to do something was actually last year when I approached the Dean of Students, and he actually supported my idea of having a career fair, which was basically based on having companies which come in and actually having students who benefit from those companies. At the Tel1 campus where we had the career fair, we have close to 10,000 to 11,000 students. So basically almost all of them benefited because different people came at different times at different intervals asking things. We had companies writing people's names, we had companies telling people how to brand themselves, we had companies telling people what they can do to get attachment, companies telling people what they can do when they want to study something within maybe later on for their masters. But the people that really benefited were the second years and the fourth years. The second years were going for work-related learning, and for the fourth years were finishing their degrees and were looking forward to having jobs within their community.
Many of our students did not consider diversifying in terms of their studies and where they're going after learning. Why? Because they just changed it, knowing that I'm doing human resources management, then I'll be a human resources manager. Knowing that I'm doing psychology and I'll be a psychologist. But the career fair taught us that there is more diversity in whatever we may be doing, actually branching to more fields which are linked to your studies at the university. This is actually a benefit to many of our students at Midland State University. Therefore, this was more of a blessing to us. Therefore, we do believe that if Some of our students, the likes of Kudawashi Shoots, are given such more platforms, such more exposure. They can actually bring more and more beneficial projects to the university as we speak.
I think it was an eye-opener to me. It's, we're living in a world where there is so much that we can choose from, to an extent that it gets difficult to choose. But the career fair clarified a lot of things. It showed me those things that I could work on, those things that I needed. I think it was good. It was great.
This is Project Africa.
My reason for being a surgeon is because I want to help Africa as a whole. I want to help my people. I want to stay in Nigeria and help out because I know that we don't have much or lots of surgeons in Nigeria. But if I stay here and help, I'll be able to make sure that we have health facilities, and I'll be able to make sure that we don't have problems about health in Nigeria.
I want to be a linguist because I want to know all sort of languages to, go from Nigeria, speak for Nigeria, and do all sort of things.
Being a computer economist, it will bring impact to the society in a sense that if I'm an expert and I kind of establish a computer school in the environment, it will improve the society technologically wise.
I want to become an artist. The artwork is beautiful, as in, it's creative.
Why I want to be an actor is because I have feelings for it, I have intention for it. When I grow up, this is my hobby. I have talent for it, and that's what I want
to do. These young inspiring Africans, Samuel Jackson and Kudakwashe Emilia, have impacted over 15,000 youths in their communities. They have impacted their communities by helping young people choose the right career path for their lives. Kudakwashe Emilia and Samuel Jackson are both winners of the Future Africa Leaders Awards. This is an award given by Reverend Dr. Chris Yakalome through the Future Africa Leaders Foundation every year to celebrate and support these young African leaders who are making great impact in their societies and Africa at large. We encourage you to support and recognize these African leaders by partnering with the Future Africa Leaders Foundation. For more information on how to partner with us, kindly visit our website at www.futureafricaleadersfoundation.org or call these numbers now showing on your screen. Future Africa Leaders Foundation, impacting Africa.